In 1974, a man walked out of the Philippine jungle carrying a rifle from World War II. His uniform was torn, his body was thin, but his mind was still at war. For almost 29 years, Hiroo Onoda had hidden on Lubang Island. He did not believe Japan had surrendered. He did not believe the leaflets. He did not believe the voices calling his name. To the world, the war had ended in 1945, but to Onoda, every sound in the jungle was still an enemy. Every stranger was a trap, and every day was another day of war. This is not just the story of a soldier who refused to surrender. It is the story of a man who obeyed an order until obedience became his prison. To understand why Onoda stayed, we have to go back to 1944. He was not sent to the island as an ordinary soldier. He was trained for intelligence, sabotage, and guerrilla warfare. In December of 1944, Onoda was sent to Lubang Island in the Philippines. His mission was to disrupt the enemy, destroy the airstrip, destroy the harbor, and keep fighting from the shadows. But one order mattered more than all the others. He was told not to surrender, not to take his own life, and not to stop fighting until a superior officer gave him the command. To most soldiers, an order is temporary. To Onoda, this order became the law of reality itself. Then, the war ended. In August of 1945, Japan surrendered. Cities were destroyed. Empires collapsed. Millions of soldiers began going home. But on Lubang Island, Onoda saw a different reality. Leaflets appeared in the jungle, telling the remaining soldiers that the war was over. Voices called from the distance. Messages came from family. But Onoda believed it was all a trick, enemy propaganda, a trap designed to make him surrender. If the war had ended, why were armed men still searching the island? Why did the jungle still feel dangerous? Why would his commander give him an order and never return to cancel it? So he made a decision. The outside world was lying, and the jungle was telling the truth. Years passed, then more years. Onoda was not alone at first. 3 other Japanese soldiers hid with him in the mountains of Lubang. They survived on stolen rice, wild fruit, coconuts, and whatever the jungle allowed them to take. But time did what bullets could not. In 1950, one of the men, Yuichi Akatsu, walked away from the group and surrendered. To Onoda, it was betrayal, not proof that the war was over. Then the jungle took another man. In 1954, Shuichi Shimada was killed in a clash on the island. Now only 2 remained, Onoda and Kinshichi Kozuka. For years they kept hiding, kept moving, kept believing the order. Then, in 1972, Kozuka was killed. After 27 years of hiding, Onoda was finally alone. No unit, no commander, no proof that the war still existed. Only the jungle and the order. Then, in 1974, a young Japanese traveler came to Lubang. His name was Norio Suzuki. He was not a soldier, not a commander, not an officer. He was an adventurer, searching for a man the world had almost turned into a legend. Suzuki entered the jungle and found him. Hiroo Onoda was still alive, still armed, still wearing the remains of an old imperial uniform. But even when Suzuki told him the war was over, Onoda would not surrender. He had followed one order for almost 29 years, and in his mind, only the man who gave that order could end it. So Suzuki left the jungle, not with Onoda, but with proof. The ghost was real. And to bring him home, Japan would have to send the past back into the jungle. Suzuki returned to Japan with a story almost no one could believe. Hiroo Onoda was alive, but he would not come home unless the past came back for him. So Japan found the man who had once given the order, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi. By 1974, he was no longer a wartime commander. He was an older man, living an ordinary life, but he traveled back to Lubang, carrying the only words Onoda would obey. In the jungle, Taniguchi formally relieved him of duty. For the first time in nearly 29 years, Onoda's war was over. He stepped out of the jungle, still carrying his rifle, still wearing the remains of an empire that no longer existed. But this was not a simple hero's ending. Onoda had survived, but Lubang had also suffered. His story was not only about loyalty, it was about what happens when obedience outlives truth. A soldier can leave the jungle, but sometimes the war takes longer to leave the man.